fashionably late. I make an appearance, I don't.
Oh, okay. All the crowd with your presence when you come in late. Oh, gotcha.
This is not gonna work. Hold on, I tried it. Go old school.
Have that. One of these. Your stuff. Just in case you don't have one. For you. And motion. Two draft.
Oh, you found it, or you came here and picked one
I
up?
picked one up.
I was gonna say, did you print that out and bind it, but no.
I did that today.
Yeah, I'm not that sophisticated.
That's a quick, I wanna know that printer. was a quick-
I have extras if you want.
No, I'll pull it up, I pull it up.
Is that the PUCD?
Yeah.
I probably have one in a pile somewhere.
Archaeologically
Pile of a
filed.
pile of a pile.
Yeah,
Barry, do you
that's
have
where
one?
mine is, I couldn't find.
I do not.
Okay, so we have a candidate for one to give to Barry for the PUCD.
I'll take.
And do you have a copy of our regulations, I'm assuming you do?
I do have a copy of the
All right.
regulation.
Awesome.
We lost half the audience.
Exactly. Need piped in music. In the background.
That would be nice, my goodness, see though.
Can I not do this?
Which clock do we use, that one?
Whatever clock you want.
I don't know if that's.
That's it, the official,
Yeah.
Yeah, he can come, he cannot come.
Actually, it's 6:35, so it's like 2 minutes.
I'd like to call to order the, reverse that. There we go. One more time. I'd like to call to order the North Branford Planning and Zoning Regular Meeting, September 7th, 2023. Could you rise and help and join me in saluting the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to introduce the members of the commission seated here this evening. To my immediate left is Bill Gondenzi, he's our vice chair, and to his left is Trish Mace, a regular member, and to her far left is Barry Ponder, an alternate, soon-to-be regular member, and to my immediate right is Ron Sienna, regular member. Far right is Janet Crane, our recording secretary, and at the administrative table is David Perkins, our planner. And my name is Robert Nowak. I am the chairman for the commission this evening. Next order of business is to consider the approval of previous minutes for August 17, 2023. If the commission members would take a moment to review the minutes and let me know if there's any corrections, adjustments, or modifications. Then entertain a motion when you're ready to approve the minutes as noted.
And we need more time, because I'll make a motion. Ron, you reviewing them?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you reviewing minutes?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
So
I make a
before you do
Yeah.
that, so one order of business we want to correct on the minutes is that there's only 5 voting members, and we have 6 on the record.
Hmm.
So there's a couple times, Scott Lanza was the second, so we had 2 alternates that evenings. Barry read the notice into the record, and Scott made this second to the motion, so we can only have one alternate be a member seated. So with that being said, if you don't mind, Barry, I'll have Scott be the seated member, and the minutes be corrected to only reflect 5 votes, not 6. Last comment on the minutes that I have is other business, 7C, multifamily housing district dash continued. On the second page, motion to accept proposed changes as discussed 44.46.1, residential district D to be reviewed at the meeting, Galdenzi.
What page?
That's page 7 of the minutes. I don't know what that's referring to, because the family housing is 39.1. Did that just like fly in there? You recall, Bill?
Nope.
It's kind of like an outliner out of nowhere, like, huh? I think we just
Incomplete
tabled,
sentence.
we just
What number was
tabled
that
it.
under?
That was,
Read it.
7C, the page 7 in the back, top.
Under other business?
Yeah,
Oh, I see what you meant.
we didn't even talk about it.
We tabled it, so I was like,
Yeah.
why is that in there?
Yeah, I think that whole C should just be
Yeah,
removed.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Must have got it in other.
Yeah, I agree.
Thought maybe I missed it. I was at the meeting, but I was like, where did that come from?
It's an age thing.
Oh, there you go. So with that being said, that's the only other comments I have.
What date was that? So what date is the minutes?
17th, August 17th.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 17th meeting.
We have a second?
Second?
Second.
Oh, Ron did. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. 5 votes, 5-0. Awesome. Meeting minutes we don't have to carry forward like from last year.
That's like the first time ever.
Exactly. So moving on, the agenda item 4A for application 2023-9, zoning map amendment 730 Forest Road. We're continuing our discussion. The public hearing was closed, and we're in deliberation on what was the best course of action. There was 3 components to that we were looking to discuss relative to the map change was, I believe, was spot zoning, the POCD, and also kind of go through some of the comments from the town planner. So on the recent, the town planner sent us some information regarding spot zoning relative to legal discussion throughout the state of Connecticut. And in that packet, there was a couple definitions that were prudent to what the town planner sent us, and I want to kind of add to the record what was submitted previously and discuss what he proposed to us. So September 5th, from the town planner, David Perkins, 730 Forest Road is a 2.84 acre lot located in the R40 zone of Branford. Petitioners wish to change the zone to B1. The minimum lot size in B1 zone is 40,000 square feet. The lot could theoretically be divided into 3 lots and can therefore be considered a zone. A zone change will be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Now, when Dave sent that, I was like, what is the comprehensive plan? And some of our training were like, what does that mean? And in one of the legal documents, the attorneys or the state, I don't know who's, one of the cases in the town council versus Cannon versus town council, the concluding judge defined what a comprehensive plan was, because I don't know what it was either. Comprehensive plan means a general plan to control and direct the use and development of property in a municipality, and a large part of it being divided into its districts according to the present and potential use of the properties. So comprehensive plan is our regulations as a whole, not just one particular component. The PUCD states on page 95 that the Planning and Zoning Commission should consider zoning regulations, provisions, and incentives to upgrade older commercial properties which may be non-conforming. So this word also kind of confused me as well. What does non-conforming mean? And so I asked that to the town planner. What does the non-conforming mean in our regulations?
It's a use in a zone that does not conform to the underlying regulation. Would be a non-conforming use. So if you have a residential zone and you have a commercial use on it, the commercial use would be non-conforming.
Gotcha.
It often comes about from what was being used on land before the regulations came into being.
Yeah, that's the majority of
Often
those.
what happens.
Often what happens, so they're pre-existing non-conforming uses.
Okay.
That's what Trish is pointing at.
Yeah,
So our PUCD has kind of worked to get rid of those non-conforming so they can form.
Correct, and the zoning regulation says the same thing.
Okay. So the zoning regulations in section 5.1 state that the non-conforming use of land and structure should be changed to conformity as soon as possible. The subject site has been zoned residential since the advent of the zoning in town. It appears that the site was mined prior to the use as a VFW and a commercial restaurant. The last structure of the site burned and the site has been vacant for many years. The site never contained a residential use. The petitioner could apply for a use variance to use a property as they desire. However, a use variance can only be issued if the subject parcel of land cannot be reasonably developed for any permitted use within the district in which it is located because of a reason particular to the parcel in question and not applicable to the area as a whole. Clearly, use variance cannot be issued since the lot could be developed as a residential use. The lot could still be used as a commercial restaurant or as a meeting hall, even though the building has been removed and the use suspended. Pre-existing non-conforming use can only be terminated when abandoned by the owner. Abandoned in this case means a useful act abandoning the use. The pre-existing use could be intensified or not expanded. The Connecticut Supreme Court has ruled that, I quote, in deciding whether the current activity is within the scope of the non-conforming use, consideration should be given to 3 factors. 1, the extent to which the current use reflects the nature and purpose of the original use. 2, any difference in character, nature, and kind of use involved. And 3, any substantial difference in effort upon the neighborhood, effect upon the neighborhood resulting from differences in activities conducted on the property, end quote. Rezoning this parcel is not spot zoning, as the lot is
Can
3
I-
times.
Sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
wanted, because you
Absolutely.
had some question, and, can you clarify abandon? I was unclear.
It's been quite clear in the last few years as the legislature has changed that regulation, that we used to have regulations that said if your house was non-conforming and it was burned down, you had to rebuild it within a year or 2 years. Everybody sort of had that regulation. And the state has come back and said, well, that's really not fair to make somebody have to rebuild it within a year. They can,
What's considered abandoned?
you have to actually, I make somebody write it down as an affidavit and say, I actually abandoned the use.
So abandonment could be a lot of things.
So change of ownership is not abandoning it?
No,
Okay. So no one's abandoned the use of that?
nobody has actually
As
come forward and said, we're never gonna use it again, as we did, and the
As-
courts have ruled that we can't just say, due to a factor of time, you lost that use.
Sometimes
So-
it does though, of course, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like there was a case where after 13 years of somebody owning a property with a cabin, they wanted to redo the cabin and it was considered abandoned because it's been 13 years. Like half the case law supports abandonment, half doesn't support it. So it's tricky.
So just so I'm clear, so this specific property we're talking about, even though it's changed ownership, it has not been abandoned because no one actually signed an affidavit saying they abandoned it.
Correct.
And that's, even if, okay. So when whoever,
I mean, I think the court.
I don't know what abandoned means, that's why I'm getting
It,
it out.
it means a million different things. I have
Yeah.
like 20 court cases here that it means a million different things.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
I'm just curious, because that's a key
Well,
thing.
Tricia's right, you never know which judge is gonna rule which way. But
It's like
basically,
split.
what the legislature has tried to do is to say, you need to formally abandon it in order to do that, and that's relatively new public acts.
But in
They've
your,
tried to clean that up, so it's not up to the
It's not
judges,
so
it's
vague,
up to
yeah.
the legislature.
but it's somewhere in law or an opinion from a court that a signed affidavit is what considers it abandoned?
Well,
Or is
Even
that
if
your
somebody
opinion?
verbally says it,
yeah, I certainly do. I mean, if.
I know, but is that the only way? Is that your
No.
opinion? You said it as if it was a law. I'm just really trying to understand. I'm not challenging it. I'm just trying to understand it. You say it as if it's a law or case law or, court order or whatever, something legal. But if that's your opinion, I'd like to know of versus if it's a law. Because I don't know what abandoned is. And if it means you have to have a written affidavit, fine.
You have to make a purposeful act to abandon. So a purposeful act would be, you start using it as a conforming manner. That gives up your non-conforming.
For me, a purpose could be interpreted as I sold the property. I'm abandoning it. I don't want to use it anymore, and I've sold it.
And the buyer could
Right.
say, hey, great, this is what was used there before, I'm gonna buy it.
I'm just saying that to me could be construed as abandoned,
Okay,
right? That's why I'm just trying to understand if it's your opinion or if it's law. I'm trying
I
to wrap
think
my
it's-
head around abandoned.
I think it's my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Wouldn't it be tied in paying your taxes? If you don't pay your taxes, wouldn't it be also construed as you're abandoning it, I guess? I know it's a different venue, but I'm just saying.
I don't think taxes have anything to do with it.
Okay,
You may just be having a financial hardship, but
okay. Gotcha.
All right, so, sorry about that. Go
No,
ahead.
you're fine.
I just wanted to clarify.
So rezoning this parcel is not spot zoning, as the lot is 3 times the minimum size lot for size of both the B1 and R40 zones, and is in conformance with the comprehensive plan as shown above. Connecticut Supreme Court has ruled consistently that 2 elements must be satisfied. I quote, 2 elements must be satisfied before spot zoning can be said to exist. First, the zone change must concern a small area of land. Second, the change must be out of harmony with the comprehensive plan and the zoning adopted to serve the needs of the community as a whole, end quote. As shown, these 2 elements are met at the 730 Forest Road. So with that being said, is there any other questions regarding what the town planner provided us?
I have another question on the 3, so, I don't know what was said there, I can't pull it up unfortunately. About but you mentioned 3 times would not be considered.
Well, it's not
It could be divided into 3 lots.
No, but
considerably.
prior to that, it said, what does it say? Please read that to me. You're saying because it's
This particular part?
the zone, the B zone is 1 acre lot, it's, let me read it. I'm just trying to see where the conclusion you reach where it's 3 times the minimum, therefore it's not significant change or something.
Well,
Is that an opinion, or where's 3 times?
Well, it's-
Because like our 80, which is most of Northford, is 2 acres, so that's not far off from 2 acre, right?
Correct.
So I don't know where I'm just trying to ascertain right now, is this opinion or is this somehow in law? So are we
That's-
abided by law, or are you giving your assessment and opinion?
I'm giving you my opinion.
Rezoning this parcel is not spot zoning, as the lot is 3 times the minimum lot size of both B1 and R40, and is in conformance with the So what if it's 3 times the minimum lot size? I don't understand what that has relevance on this. I don't know.
Where do you draw the line before a small amount of area and a significant amount of area and a large
Right.
amount of area?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Well, the
Right,
law doesn't
yeah,
define a small area,
Correct.
so that's why it's, we have to, I don't know at what point we deliberate or we're going back and forth with Dave, but, we have to be very careful because there is a lot of law around this, so, but also within that, it's not defined, like a small area is not defined. So we do have to be careful saying 3 acres is big versus somebody else saying it's small. So this is gonna be a healthy discussion.
Right, and we do have a number of spots in town that are small zones. We have SPI on Forest Road, that's zoned as not residential, and that's a relatively small lot. Aces up on Old Post Road is its own little
Oh,
zone.
the school, I'm thinking, I don't know.
That's a very small lot. There's a bunch of them sort of on Foxen Road as well.
Oh, no.
So there are 4 or 5 small areas,
Already in town, Dave?
yeah. And if you think about when they created zoning, they just sort of went out and, made areas of residential. They didn't really look deeply down to see what was actually in that area.
First, the zone change must concern a small area of land. Just to hear it in your words.
I mean, I gave you a bunch of those case histories, and there are a bunch of them that were on 2 acre lots. The judge said, well, it's within the comprehensive plan, it's within the police powers of zoning, it's for the welfare of the community, it's kind of thing that, somebody needs. There were some about supermarkets and residential
Yeah, I saw that.
areas, and
Yeah,
that's a need of the community to have a
Right,
a retail store in a rural area.
yeah. Yep, I understand.
So I think you really have to think about it as the police power in helping the neighborhood and community as a whole.
Police as in police officers?
No, just the police power of your ability to make regulations.
Oh, the commissions.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Any more comments, questions about what David sent us? Okay. You want to have a discussion about what can be used at that property? Was one of our other components.
Oh, wait, I thought,
Go ahead. We're still on the same, just going through, there was 3 items on our discussion for
what was
this.
the first item?
I brought up Dave's comment to us.
Okay.
Was there anything in there you wanted to touch upon that?
There is more, but I didn't know if that,
Go
it was the
ahead.
memo and that, so the spot zoning, based on Connecticut law, the zoning amendment may not wrench out a single small lot from its environment and give it a new rating that disturbs the tenor of the neighborhood. That's from case law from 1957, that was upheld again in 2015 with, in Madison. So I don't know if now's the time to discuss that, or if we're going through in another way, but we had another application come to us. It wasn't applied, but somebody came to consider a very similar profile, and we had, as a commission, we were very leery of spot zoning. So what was in the memo was, it was not comprehensive in how what I'm aware of and the knowledge I have. But to have a case from 1957 upheld in 2015, that speaks volumes. And again, the zoning amendment may not wrench out a single small lot from its environment and give it a new rating that disturbs the tenor of the neighborhood. I don't think spot zoning is off the table. It's still on the table that this is it is spot zoning, what we're considering. And spot zoning is an illegal exercise of our power to do just this, to take that lot, which is small compared to all the residential around it, and change it to business. We are wrenching a single small lot from the environment, and we're giving it a rating that we could possibly give it a rating that disturbs that neighborhood. So it's, just because that memo says it's not spot zoning, there's other law here that it does reek of spot zoning. So I don't know what more we need to discuss about that, but,
Not necessarily.
okay.
Because you said small. Again, it's just the same thing that case law just stated, that it's a small area. So in your opinion, the 2.84 acres is small.
Yeah, and then,
So
again,
that's the
the other
first, your
part.
first component. The second component, sorry, never.
No, that's fine,
The
that's fine.
second component is the tenure of the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Right. So, and let's talk about that, because that's the
Sure.
second component. So
Yep.
if you can't get by the small component, then the tenure of the neighborhood is the language in case law,
yep,
right? So with that being said, let's talk about all the possibilities, and we'll roll right into all the possibilities based on
Okay.
this, right?
and I'll be clear that
Right,
in,
because you're saying that the tenure in the neighborhood, so this gentleman, if we don't switch to commercial, he can still disrupt the tenure of the neighborhood by building a restaurant.
that's different than considering the zoning change. So the second part of it is, what the part in the memo, is this change out of harmony with the comprehensive plan for the good of the community? And case law, again, supports that. You can't wrench out and it disturbs the tenor of the whatever's going on it, it is what it is, but we're here now considering a zoning change. And that change, that new rating, to change it and put business in the middle of residential, it does disturb the tenor of the neighborhood. We're not talking about the use right now, we're talking about the zone change.
We're talking about the zone change, absolutely. So you want to talk about what the zone could be?
Yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's when this comes in, right? So let's
Yes.
talk about the zone, right? If the tenor in the neighborhood doesn't change, and we don't change it to commercial,
yeah.
Right, that's
Tenor of the
what-
neighborhood being residential.
correct, right? So in
Yeah.
a residential area, he can put a restaurant. As one of the options he could do, because again, it's not zone commercial, but has the ability to put the building right back to what it was before. Because it's not conforming, it was a restaurant, or whatever you wanna call it, whatever, a pizza place, a VFW, a dance hall. Doesn't he have the ability to put that right back and keep it non-conforming?
Yes.
It's an interesting question.
But I'm not sure you even want to worry about that. And I'll agree with Trish completely about if it disrupts the tenor of the neighborhood, you shouldn't be doing it. On the other hand, if it has some good for the overall community, that is the other side of changing the tenor of the neighborhood. So you can go either way. I agree with you 100%. You shouldn't pass it if it's gonna do that.
Well, even, oh,
Yeah,
go.
But David, to your point, we don't know, he just wants to change in the code, we don't know what he's gonna put in there,
Well,
or
that's-
even have an idea of what he's putting in there.
That's why you have to consider the full breadth.
So then you got, and then.
And a
when-
different
and
owner
when
down
we
the
go
road at
to
some
do that,
point.
It
yeah.
has to
If
be
that's
what would go
possible.
in there, not what potentially the plan is.
So that's a good segue to what Bob was talking about.
Can I open up a can of worms before you get to that?
Sure.
So I'm curious because I know when it was a pizza, so the hall was a hall. I know they had a small kitchen that supported the hall. And then it got given to the Masonic Lodge, who had it as a hall, a small kitchen. And then a Bots took it and made it a restaurant. Was that even allowable? Should the town have done something about that?
Probably.
Excuse me,
that's why-
excuse me. I hate to correct you, but as a member of the VFW at that time,
And the
you're right, there was a hall with a small kitchen in the back. And most of the uses of the hall were fed by the full restaurant kitchen in the center, which fed food to the bar, and there was another room on the other side of the restaurant where, well, they had fast food at the bar food, and they had sit-down meals on the other side. So they did, in fact, always have a full-size kitchen.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to understand the non-conforming use. If it's a hall, having a
How to go to a restaurant.
kitchen that's serving that hall and the members of the hall, what I'm saying, and then it got passed on to Masonics, who did the same thing. And then a Bots took it, and then they started doing this big events to the community. I don't know that was following the non-conforming. That seems like an expanded use. So that's all I'm saying. That's a whole thing for the
Yeah, that's-
lawyers or something. I'm trying to understand that,
that's
because
where
we
it
keep
made a
saying,
stretch. I
we keep
understand
saying it's
that.
gonna be this huge restaurant. I'm actually not sure it could even ever have been that. I don't know.
Right.
I think just we never did anything about it.
Yeah, but
That's all I'm saying. All right.
So with that being said, could it become a restaurant again?
You know, if somebody came to me with an application to say, I haven't abandoned the use, this is what I want to do, I would have a hard time dealing with it, and I would probably just hand it over to the
Lawyer.
town attorney
Yeah,
and let him deal with it. Because I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Got it.
You don't want to be in that position, understood?
All right, sorry, Bob.
No, you're fine.
Or Robert.
Bob's fine.
You're allowed to interrupt because you guys have like the same color.
Doing it
We
colorblind.
got the same memo. So, we're discussing R40 versus B1,
Yeah, and you're gonna go through.
right? If you want to, I can just hit the highlights. They put out a short list of B1 zone relative to R40. Uses by site plan approval in B1 zone: retail store, business professional office, hotel, motel, assembly hall, lodges, community houses, auto dealer, gas station, repair garage, contractor lumberyard, contractor business plumbing, electrician, painter, research laboratory, heating, fuel sales, daycare, church, not-for-profit, uses by special permit, restaurant, indoor amusement hall, bowling alley, laundry, dry cleaners, apartments, flea market, cemetery, just in short.
Which brings the question,
That's for, just to be clear, that was if it's moved to a B1 zone.
Right.
There's just a highlight.
now, that section has the cemetery on Foot Hill. Would that be considered B1? Because there's only one house between the cemetery and this parcel that wants to be a B1.
True.
So that being the case, isn't that section technically a B1 by use?
Use, yes.
We don't know if it's a B1. It's probably a non-conforming. I don't know, right?
Yeah,
That's an assumption it's a B1 just because it's a cemetery.
No, I'm saying for spot zoning, that the cemetery's there.
Cemetery is probably in our residential zone, it's non-conforming. I don't know.
yeah, but he's saying as a use, it's a non-conforming use that's
okay.
close to the lot.
Right.
So the cemetery should be a B1.
But it begs the question, is
I
the
don't-
cemetery part of that neighborhood?
I think we should, first of all, if we're
Yeah.
gonna go there, we should find out, because we can look and find what it is, right? Because we're all just speculating now.
Well, the cemetery is a residential.
Residential, okay, so it's a non-conforming. All right, then you're right, Ron. Yep. So what was the, I'm sorry, maybe restate the point you were making.
The point is that if a cemetery should be considered part of a B1 zone, and there's a large cemetery there from Foothill Road to, no, it doesn't go to Totoki Road, there's one house on the corner. And then if you jump over that house, you go into this parcel of land, which there's more B1 in that section than by use than residential.
I don't think there's more, because there's all residential, and there's a cemetery, and this soon, the plot we're talking about, but it's mostly residential. It's not mostly B1. I know your point, I know the point you're making, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
That stretch of road is most between Foothill Road and this parcel is all B1 by use. Oh, not, I'm sorry.
It's
He
not
wants his
important.
parcel to be B1. But that section, the only thing interrupting that strip of B1, which is, I don't know, a couple of thousand feet,
Not even, remember that
So-
440 is on the corner.
there's only one house on the corner, breaking that strip
Yeah.
of B1
I understand, I
plan.
understand what you mean.
And to be honest with you, what I heard last time was that the residents in that area don't want a restaurant that's gonna be running people in and out from, from happy hour to, 2 o'clock in the morning, last call.
Could be a restaurant.
Yeah, but if it's a B1 and it's used for something other than a restaurant, which we have an entire list of things that could be done there,
One of which is a restaurant,
one of which is a restaurant.
Yeah. Conforming restaurant.
Right. But there's a strong possibility he can come in without going through us to be a restaurant. So the bottom line is, I don't have the answer, I'm just throwing this
Yeah,
stuff
no,
out.
I know, I
I'm
understand.
throwing it on the table and see what happens.
I don't think it was much to it, like I don't know what was stated verbatim by the residents, but I don't know if it was specific to they don't want a restaurant there, or they don't want the zone change there. I have a horrible memory. But the vibe I got was they don't want the zone change.
Right. And the vibe that I got was the amount of traffic that's gonna be generated from whatever the use is.
And that's the vibe I got, exactly. They don't want
Right,
traffic.
so whatever the
to come
use
for them.
is, whether it be R40 or B1, the traffic generated onto the highway, onto 22 was the biggest concern. Right, so if the guy proposes anything, it's gonna be a non-starter, regardless of if it's on R40 or B1. Right, because it's gonna generate traffic on there.
I think it was, noise was certainly one too.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
From the
Makes sense.
pizza,
Absolutely.
again, from the pizza place, which I'm not even sure if that was allowed. From the hall, I don't know. No one really said, I don't think anyone said, it's, if I recall correctly, it was like, it was the VFW, then it was Masonic, but then when it became the pizza place, it got, they said it was loud and a lot of Harleys, and I remember this, noise and
Mhm.
things. I don't think the hall ever had that issue, but that's my recollection.
That's accurate. I agree.
Kind of just to go back to the plan of conservation and development that was referenced, so it's just always throughout all zoning that push to make non-conforming conforming. It's not specifically it's not specifically stated in our plan, and that's not the gist of the plan. It's a very, I have an ant, I'm gonna find an ant on my paper. It's just kind of like what is just assumed throughout zoning regs, but the specific reference to the, non-conforming becoming conforming, the objective, the action item is pursue the highest and best use in existing commercial and industrial zones. So that was the objective, in existing commercial and industrial zones. So even in referencing the plan of conservation and development, that's not an existing commercial or industrial zone, it's residential, so, I just wanted to put that little piece to the puzzle there as well, and that it's not that our plan of conservation and development is about non-conforming specifically, that's literally like probably the only line, if I remember correctly, where it talks about non-conforming. I saw much more in our plan of conservation and development about protecting the Farm River corridor, low impact, low density, protecting the Farm River, that was prevalent throughout. But I just wanna highlight, plan of conservation and development is not about non-conforming. And that one piece was in existing commercial and industrial zones, have the non-conforming become conforming. And then again, the focus on growing the tax base in our plan of conservation and development was 139, Route 80, Northford Center, North Branford Center. 22 Forest Road was specifically low density, low impact, keep it rural. So I just want to highlight that too, in like the gist of our plan. Because again, it's, the changes we make are for any future, anybody. If it were to get changed, the current owner could sell it, somebody new comes in, and maybe what they want to put in there is not low impact and low density to the Farm River. So that's why it's not thinking about what's going on now, it's the future as well.
Is that really relevant to the conversation about the impact of the Farm River?
Yes, because the plan of conservation development is referenced.
True. That's not our discussion, right? In deciding whether it's commercial or residential? Because there's another body that would dictate whether that applies or not.
No,
whether they decide to
but the
put
plan
in
of
that.
conservation and development just highlights that throughout. So if the plan of conservation and development is being referenced, everything could be referenced in it.
Yes. Right.
So it was just stated that in our plan of conservation and development, like, we're supposed to make non-conforming conforming. That's not a big part of our plan of conservation and development. That's what my point was.
Okay, gotcha. So it's not necessarily the Farm River's your point, but other than conforming to non-conforming.
Yep.
Okay. And to your point, Trish, right, so if we want to go down that road, right, to analyze whether something could fit there commercially or not, right, because of the floodplain, he'd be restricted on how big and what he could do there, potentially anyway. Right, because the floodplain comes halfway through, we got the map, it goes halfway through his parking lot. And most new developments, my recollection in our site plan, there's always a said pond that he has to create outside the wetlands so it gathers the materials. Since we'll talk about that, right, there's other methods by which to meet that clause in the POCD and in the wetlands in the site development plan that others will have to look at. And he'll have to consider that as too when he goes to build it and develop it. There's only so much he could do on the 2.8 acres.
Yeah.
Here, this is what I highlighted. You guys can check it out. Right, so if you look at the map that was provided by the applicant shows a 100-year, 100-foot upland review area. This blue line represents this.
We have
Here's
200
forest.
200 from Farm River too.
And there's 200 in the orange. So he's really left with, and then here's this one, this blue line, 100 feet all the way around. Here's the floodplain, this pink one, 100-year floodplain. So he has to develop outside that, develop outside this. Right, might understand
It's just,
that.
it's part of our purview to review it and challenge, you know, doesn't mean you can allow certain things, but we just have to review it. Doesn't mean this is a hard line. This is a hard line for our review.
Isn't it a hard line for him?
I
to
don't,
build
this is
it?
probably, this is
It's-
non-conforming to begin with, because it's already existing. I don't know how inland wetlands would handle that, but that's inland wetlands, I guess.
Right, but we wouldn't talk about protecting the river, that's why that's laid out the way it is. So
Yeah.
what really could he build there based on, with the offset, and the yellow is the property line. You can't develop here, you can't develop below the 100.
It just, the 100 means we just have the purview to, that means it has to come to us for review.
The power.
If you're out, forget the Farm River, because this is 200. If this was just a wetlands, as long as he's outside of the 100, then it doesn't have to come to our commission for review.
Okay.
So if it's within the 100, then the inland wetlands has to see it and review. It doesn't mean they can't do anything in it, but it has to be understood and we have to approve it.
Right.
And then we do have 200 though, because it's the Farm River. So that would trigger us again.
And is that for review to say, because I know you're on the wetland, so it's great to understanding the impact to the river, so we can then identify what exactly, not identify, but have a better feeling, an understanding of what could go there, because we're guessing what he could. Right?
Yeah, I don't think we can answer that though. Yeah, we can't answer it. All these lines mean is we have to, the inland wetlands has to review it. It doesn't mean they couldn't go there. It just has to be reviewed.
Okay.
It's not, that's what I mean. It's not a hard line saying the 100 foot, you can't develop in there. It doesn't mean that at all. It means if it's within the 100 foot, then we have to actually review it.
Gotcha. All right, understood, thank you.
Yep.
So did we want to discuss any more about R40 or B1, things that are going to go in there, or are we stuck on small lot and its impact to the surrounding community regardless of what he puts in there? You know, two things we need is too small area, and doesn't fit with the community, right?
Read the small lot again, so I understand.
So
What is it saying that it's not spot zoning?
two elements must be satisfied. This is by the Supreme Court. Two elements must be satisfied before spot zoning can be said to exist.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay?
Yep.
First, the zone change must concern a small area of land. One. Two, the change must be out of harmony, Trish, to your point, with the comprehensive plan of zoning adopted to serve the needs of the community as a whole. So 2 points. Is it too small? And does it impact the needs of the community as a whole?
And of course, the courts go on and address that in their
They
decision.
define community though, so some people are defining community as like the whole town, but again, the case law specifies neighborhood.
I wouldn't get carried over with the spot zoning as much as the character of the neighborhood. I wouldn't worry about the size as much as the character,
Yeah, because.
because they're gonna look at the character question first.
Yeah.
Yeah, the size is, it's somewhat arbitrary. And it's
Yeah, the law hasn't defined the size.
poll all of us and it's gonna be a different answer. Some may be close, but.
And I think that's what you as a commission wanna
Yeah.
look at the effect on the community.
Okay, so we talk about the effect on the community. So is a farm brewery impacting the community as an option in the R40 if we don't change anything? A farm outdoor events on the property. Open space subdivision.
It's an
multi-
industrial zone.
No, we're talking R40 just the way it stands right now, right?
Yeah, the farm brewery is gonna take more acreage, so they wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay.
Open space subdivision, they need more land to do that. Basically, they can
Farm
only
is,
do,
farm is defined in our regs, I think is 10 acres or more,
Gotcha. Okay. So that don't
I
work.
believe.
Okay.
For the farm brewery, was it?
I think you need 10 acres for a farm brewery.
Yeah, the farm brewery, yeah.
The only thing you can really do there is build probably 2 or 3 houses,
You can put an office building in there?
not in the R40, no.
Okay. Commercial kennel,
You need more acreage.
more acreage for that one? Okay. Multi-dwelling clusters, need more acreage, planned adult residence, cluster development, age-restricted housing district, elderly development. Family daycare homes, group daycare homes, summer day camps, golf, tennis, swimming. Veterinary hospital. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Bill, you want to look over the POCD a little bit more?
No, I'm just looking at some things, no?
Okay.
Well, I have one other comment, you know, in non-conforming uses in town, you know, it's a non-conforming, why can't the property become conforming by putting a house on it? You know, why does it have to be changing the zone? So there's other options versus just one.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so I think that ends our discussion. Barry, you have anything you would like to comment about?
I guess I would like more language on the small amount of land. Everything we were talking about there, you know, you can't put a farm brewery because not enough acreage. It's just makes it seem like maybe 2.8 is considered like small. So I think I would like to, would be like more language on what kind of small amount of land, if it's small or not.
Does that exist, or is that as
I
clear as
mean,
it
we
gets?
could look at case law
Well,
and see like what's the acreage that place in Madison that was upheld in 2015?
so that was for, I don't know, I'm assuming it was actually bigger because it was for a hotel. The case law doesn't define small area, but there is a point in here. More important, much to Dave's point, more important than the relative size, in quotes, of the parcel is whether the zone change proposed will permit the use of the property in an appropriate manner, having regard to its type, location, and nature of the surrounding uses, existing or potential. They just, they don't really
Yeah.
define.
Yeah,
The
I
amount.
think I'm all set with the discussion then.
Okay.
Unless this, again, this is from 2019, I haven't been to a training since, unless there's something more recent, but I think they probably stay away from trying to define size, because then you're opening up a can, if they go too concrete, then that opens up a whole other can of worms. But the case in Madison, that was a hotel. I don't know what the size of the land was.
I mean, yeah. You also mentioned the bigger benefits of the community at large. And I thought the examples you set were interesting, because like a grocery store in a rural area that doesn't have a grocery store does benefit the community. I just don't know that putting any use here in that area benefits the community as a whole. That, I don't see the direct correlation to, the examples were more related to that, for me personally. Like, you can't argue that putting a grocery store where there is no grocery store in a rural community, even though it's non-conforming, to make it in a residential area, is that's a pretty good use. It benefits all, like everyone in the community. You can't, that,
Yeah, if you wanna
Be
look
hard
at
to
the
argue
community
that.
as a whole, yeah, bigger.
so I thought that was a relevant example that they cited in what was that decision, the court decision? Yeah.
Right.
That was right, seemed to align with my logic as well.
And on the same token, the applicant proposed a storage facility. That's an appropriate use in that neighborhood for local businesses to store their equipment inside a garage. And it's only limited during the day, if that was what he proposed
Yeah.
to do.
That's the
Well, that's
challenge of text amendments, yeah, or zone changes,
Right.
I don't want to be cynical, but I've been lied to before. Someone comes in for a division of property because, let's say he wants to put a healthcare facility or a small dog grooming business, and then comes back with, scrap that idea, we're gonna put a 3-story, multifamily house in. So, I mean, until we get a site plan in an application, we're wide open to any one of those things, including a gas station, which it'll never go in there because it's too
Yeah.
close to the river. But,
It's certainly.
that's on the list. So I'm going back and forth on this like crazy. I'm arguing with myself.
Yeah, that's
I mean-
what I've been doing.
The property is in a position that you can reasonably say what would go in there, what wouldn't. Gas station next to a river? I don't think so.
In that neighborhood, I don't think another gas station is needed.
And there's one up the street, so you can, process of elimination,
Yeah.
Yeah.
could be a cemetery, it's up the road. You can make the whole strip be one. Then it's all conforming.
It was a sand pit at one time.
It was a mining operation, right?
Yes. That was before or something.
I understand your point, Rob, about being lied to.
I mean, it's safe to say that a restaurant most likely is not gonna go back in there. If he had an idea of a restaurant, he would have just put it in there without coming here. So it's pretty safe to say the restaurant is not gonna be there. Unless it's
Well,
gonna
the
be a
only,
larger
the
one.
only caveat to that is you have to have the same, and you're restricted
Yeah.
by what's there. And I'm not even sure that, that's a whole other story about whether a restaurant could even go there. But
Yeah.
the point is that they're restricted from the existing non-conforming use, so now with the new zone change, it's open to whatever can go in there, following our bulk standards and all that.
Yeah.
So by changing it to B1, he's guaranteed to allow to put the restaurant in there, based on the zone change.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. If it's allowed, yep.
Okay.
Do we need any more info or data? So, I mean, I don't know. I've been part of these two cycles of planning conservation and developments, and
Whoa,
I know
it's
it's.
a long time.
I know, like I used the last time, that it's a clear example, like by the Dollar Tree or Dollar General, where there's many bees and sprinkled in there are residential. I think it's very clear from our plan of conservation and development, it's ideal for economic development to try to convert those to be, because then you literally have it's almost like the residents are non-conforming. They're not non-conforming, but they're out of character. This just seems the total opposite, except for the cemetery. I mean, that's an interesting thing I didn't know, but I mean, I think for me, it's a cemetery, and that's from a long time ago, so it just seems, I'm struggling with the fact that I think that it's not, just trying to put something where it shouldn't be, you know?
Well, as a commission, we try to be very careful and, protect putting business in the middle of residential.
Okay. I don't have anything else to add, Ron? You good?
Yeah, I still haven't made up my mind.
Okay.
You said there were 3 items?
There were 3 items on the previous minutes that we wanted to talk about.
So,
Summarization.
just for clarity, not that we want to belabor this and delay it, but just so we have another data point, I mean, in terms of timing.
We have time.
We have time if we
You
want.
don't have to decide tonight.
We don't have to decide. I'm not suggesting or recommending we do that, just for a data point. So if we need more time, we need more time. It's okay to take our time too.
Fair enough.
This is a challenging one, yeah.
Okay. I like that idea, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, I think it's a tough subject, so yeah, it was a tough project to vote on. So I think everybody should just look at it as a whole and then maybe come back next meeting and see where it's at.
Okay. With that being said, then I'll entertain a motion to continue the application 2023-9 zoning map amendment 730 Forest Road.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposed, no abstention, motion carries 5-0. We'll continue next meeting,
Is that this
21st, with the public hearing
21st?
on character.
Right. You're just gonna table it to the next meeting?
I know, but can I talk with me at that?
Yeah,
Yeah, the public hearing portion is closed.
sorry.
So the next item on the agenda is new business, 5A, section 8-4, reference referral regarding reauthorization of property tax assessment deferral program for Connecticut State Statute, section 824. Our guest this evening is Assistant Town Manager Lori Burke, who's gonna give us a lowdown on exactly what 8-24 is.
So 8-24, Dave can probably actually shed more light on than I can. It's just a referral that the council makes to planning and zoning regarding any generally town-owned property usually, to make a ruling as to its impact on the community and whatnot. So what we're coming to you tonight with is, if it's section 12-65D, I think is the statute. This is a program that was in place in the town of North Branford. The council authorized it. It would have come to planning and zoning at that time as well in 2016. And it had an automatic sunset provision in 2021. And what it is, the council designates all or part of the town. They elected last time to do the entire town as a rehabilitation area, which then allows them to, with discretion, defer property taxes on improvements made to property. So what this essentially is a sort of a tax incentive program for development. And so what it allows them to do is, if I have an empty parcel and I want to build a development on it, only certain types of developments are eligible. The tax assessment is frozen until the completion of that project, and then the value of the increase in property taxes is phased in over the course of the next 5 years. And so the statute that enables municipalities to adopt this program requires a public hearing, which the town council did at their meeting on Tuesday, and then it requires an 8-24 referral with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and only at that time can the council act upon it. So tonight, what we're asking for is a favorable review of the program that would allow the council at their next meeting to discuss the criteria of that program and to set it. And this, again, was a program that was already in place at one point. We're looking to essentially reauthorize it.
No, so I should have interrupted you because I can't remember exactly at what point you said someone has discretion at their discretion. Whose discretion?
At the council. So an application has to be made and the council
The town
can say
council.
no to any application.
Cannot say.
They can. They have the
Say no
discretion.
to
Yes.
The town council's discretion, not doesn't.
Correct.
Doesn't, okay.
So, somebody, I'm having a hard time digesting this. So in order to use this program, somebody has to go to the town council and say, hey, I want to use this program?
Correct.
Okay. And if they don't want to use it and they want to do something, it just comes to us? It's like optional?
It's
No, this is
completely
only-
separate.
It's only for taxes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You guys still have discretion over the approval of the development itself. This is just related to whether or not they get this
Oh, okay, so
property
something
tax
separate. If they
incentive.
want to take advantage of this and have taxes deferred, it's just an option for
Correct.
them?
Yeah, I
Correct.
think your example was really good. You have an empty lot that's been sitting vacant for years, it's not doing anything, and you say, hey, I have a plan to do this, but I want tax deferral until
Yeah.
it's till I finish my project, right? And then-
Correct, because I'm not sure how it works with assessment
So
exactly.
the last one that we did was that garage at the end of Zero Road. Remember when we approved that?
Route 80's end or the? Okay.
Zero.
The end of Sierra Road, yeah.
The end of Zero Road,
Yeah, got
remember
it.
we approved that? He got approval for the tax abatement on
Oh,
that.
all
deal.
right. So it's something.
And so it's,
I get it.
the town doesn't lose any money, they just don't gain it as
The
quick.
additional revenue.
And it motivates or can incentivize people to come in.
Right.
I
Yeah,
get
so
it.
they're not getting taxed on a property that they've made improvements to, but that may not be generating the revenue yet.
I misunderstood and I thought like, oh, this program determines what can go on the land.
No.
And it's like, no, that's not what it is.
Correct.
It's completely different. It's if something, it's optional for them if they wanna delay paying money.
So it's a 5-year.
Correct.
20% a
Each year. The first year after completion, it's frozen at the prior rate and then 20% each year.
I mean, more, there's still a 5-year sunset, so if we approve it,
That's up to the council when they
28.
reauthorize the program. The resolution that authorized it last time had a 5-year automatic sunset. It may or may not,
Got it.
depending on what they choose to do.
got it, okay.
So Rory, I probably should have read into the record the letter you sent the commission. I'm a little late, but
To explain
everything you
this?
just said, it's right here, so, but I'll read it into the record anyway, so thank you. Sorry about that. CGS 12-65D, I'm sorry, to the Planning and Zoning Commission from Assistant Town Manager Roy Burke, September 1st, Property Tax Assessment Deferral Program. CGS 12-65D allows for municipalities to designate a municipality as the rehabilitation area and establish criteria for the deferment of assessment increases. This program was adopted by the council in 16, was utilized numerous times until the authorized expiration in 21, like you stated. This program encourages development by allowing the council to defer property taxes during the period of construction until the issuance of the certificate of occupancy or 2 years after the application approval, whichever comes first. After the deferment period elapses, the assessment increases. The assessment increase is phased in incrementally over a period of 5 years. At their September 5th, 2023 regular meeting, the town council held a public hearing required by 12-65D to begin the process of reauthorizing the program. After public hearing is held by the legislative body, 12-65D requires the Planning and Zoning Commission conduct a 8-24 review. Currently, we ask that you return a favorable review to the council so they can proceed in reauthorizing the program. If you do this so tonight, the council will act on its September 19th regular meeting to reauthorize the program. In reading that, I was a little confused on the statement by the general statute requires the P&Z Commission conduct a 8-24 review.
Deferral,
It says review.
review, okay.
So it should have been referral?
The legislative body makes a referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission who conducts a review.
And basically, we should be finding that it's in conformance with the planning of development.
Conservation.
POs, in conformance with the POCD.
Okay, I thought there was something more to it, because
There's not anything more to it, and if we don't give them a letter, they can, if we give them a negative, if we don't do anything, it doesn't matter. If we give them a positive referral, that's good. If we give them a negative referral, they can override it by a 2/3 vote.
Correct.
Let's go negative, Tom. What do you think?
Let's have a look.
No.
No, I mean, this makes sense, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's.
it makes sense.
It makes
Standard.
perfect sense, but
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
no, I know.
Yeah, you thought there was like some
Yeah.
paper or some
No, no, yeah.
document to review.
As you mentioned before, Trish, about the budget that we're supposed to.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
there was a
Like,
bunch
okay,
of.
Exactly.
wow.
Yeah. 824 reviews are common if it's a
Yeah.
town-owned parcel and the town is proposing some change to it. That's when P&Z typically weighs in, and it can carry, weight as to what the desired use is.
But it has no real effect
Yeah.
if they want to
Yeah,
override it.
or regs or something.
I was a little confused because we're talking money and we don't deal money. We deal policy.
Yeah.
So that was like.
Yeah, it's
why does it
interesting that
come
this
to
is
us?
written into the statute,
And
but
we could be vetoed, so.
Right?
That's the point.
Okay.
I like that.
They just want you to know what's going on.
correct.
Feel important.
I never knew about this. Did you know? Did you know?
I was here in
You know
2016.
everything.
You were here in 2016. We did a positive referral. We must have. I don't specifically remember, but we do.
That must have been a senior moment.
He might have been on vacation in
Yeah.
another country.
Yeah.
That's true. A
So there's
question, oh, excuse me, a question, we have this program,
Mm.
how are we selling it? How are we
Yeah.
navigating businesses that are not to the point of, well, I'm looking at 5 acres in North Branford or 5 acres in Branford. How does the developer know that there's this underlying benefit coming to North Branford
Sure.
than Branford?
Sure, and for all, Branford may have this in place as well. This is, a state statute, so any
Yeah.
municipality can
I'm
adopt
assuming
it.
just automatically.
How could they even consider going to Branford? You know,
Sure, typically, when a business is looking to locate, tax incentives can sometimes tip the scale, but, frequently is there access to transportation that I need? Is the site conducive? Is the zoning conducive? So tax incentives can kind of be a deciding factor, all other factors equal. So typically it's when we meet with a developer and they ask about tax incentive programs, because there are other types of tax incentive programs that are available. And I was digging through records when I started, and there was a notice with information to be posted on the website, and I'm not sure it ever was, but I will make sure that it is.
So technically, the developer comparing 2 towns would do his own due diligence.
Better.
Yeah, it's a business decision, right?
Yeah.
Because they pay
Yeah,
property
they come-
taxes
they
as
would come
well,
to
so
North
that's a
Branford and
factor.
check
Tori's
on-
point, this isn't the only incentive that towns offer, so they're gonna ask for what incentives can you give me?
Correct.
We can offer them this, maybe there's others. What does Branford offer? They probably had the same thing as Rory said, but what else can you offer? And they're gonna balance that with traffic pattern, everything else. They're
Yeah.
gonna put everything together and make decisions. It's not just this.
Yeah,
But if
and-
we don't have this, we're at a deficit, so let's get it.
Correct. Most things that municipalities can do are done by enabling legislation at the state level. And so it's really a matter of whether the municipalities individually choose to adopt the programs that the state allows them to.
It's interesting, where I looked up and printed out the 8-24 municipal improvements. Has nothing to do with, or say anything about 12-64D.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
I'm like,
paraphrasing.
what? It's not even, because 1265 is something completely, allows this whole tax abatement, and 8-24 just ties in municipal improvements. It doesn't mention anything about the incentives.
I think the 12-65, the
Yeah.
text of the statute requires an 824 referral.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a municipal improvement, but I think, as Dave said, it's more just to ensure that this body is
Yeah,
aware
which
that the
is good.
program.
Yep.
Yep.
It-
All right.
it- Yeah, anyway,
Let's go.
we'll move on.
Yeah.
There was so much legal lingo in the 8-24 municipal improvements to even go on. So with that being said, any more discussion? Thank you, Rory.
No.
No.
So we need a.
Yep.
motion.
I make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission report favorably on the CGS Section 828-24 referral from the Town Council regarding reauthorizing the property tax assessment deferral program.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Thanks, Roy.
That's right.
Next item on the agenda, other business. Miscellaneous changes, 6A. David sent us a proposed regulation change 831, dated 8/31/23. I think was passed out today.
Oh, yeah.
Revises some of the language that we're just discussing.
So I think the last time we were talking about a boat versus a camper
Yeah.
Yes.
trailer. So on the bottom of the page that I handed out tonight, did you pass that out tonight?
Yes.
Under D,
Did you get one?
outside storage of one boat on a trailer provided that storage location meets the setback requirement of the underlying zone. Or outside storage of one recreational vehicle or camper or trailer provided that it meets the setback requirements of the zone. You know, I looked through a whole bunch of other towns and they talk about it having to be screened. As a zoning enforcement officer, you know, I've seen RVs that aren't screened all the time. It's a little hard for me to say, put up a whole bunch of bushes or move it back. Durham, the only thing Durham says is that you can have a camper in your lot, but whoever's sleeping in it can't be there for more than 30 days. So with Durham, that's like fabulous. Guilford basically has the same setback, but they don't talk about boats at all in Guilford. I mean, this one just sort of seems simple and clear, and why make them screen it? I haven't had any RV zoning issues in North Branford yet. I certainly have had them in other locations, and you can drive around and see that they're parked all over the place, and it's hard to enforce it.
Will this create a stir in the public hearing for one boat, one camper?
Well, right now, the
Oh, that's right,
rule's so illogical, all we're trying to do is fix it.
Yeah.
14-foot boat. True.
I mean, I like the limit, right? I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. You don't have 3 boats and you only use 1 and 2 are just, you know.
Yeah, you don't wanna have 5 boats on
5
a lot.
boats. Yeah, that's now your boatyard and not a home, so. If you own a boat, you park it on the side of your house in the winter. I kind of feel, again, I don't own a boat. I do not own a boat, and I'm not looking to own a boat, but I mean, that seems reasonable, right? You have an RV, you need to park it somewhere. You're gonna have to pay someone to store it somewhere, I mean,
Yeah, that's not
own a
very simple.
house,
And it gives,
park it in your backyard.
It gives me the ability that if somebody does have 5 boats and the neighbors are complaining, I
Yeah,
can say,
yeah,
really
yeah,
can only have
exactly.
1.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it also kind of prevents, I'm storing 5 boats and charging my friends, you know,
Yeah, it's true too.
$50 a month.
They're
'Cause-
written out your garage
Yeah.
or something, and you can't be.
That might be permissible in R40, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's a non-conforming, non-conforming use.
Not conforming use.
Correct, if it was,
You know, it's more issue for data.
Good, yeah. Good cleanup
think-
of the,
That was the last, that was the only thing, right,
Yeah.
Dave? Was that
Yeah.
the boat camper issue, the 1,000 square
Yeah.
foot, we revised that?
And we had talked about the garage is over 1,000 square feet would get a special permit. Rather than going to the CBA and getting an illegal variance. So maybe we could take these to a, second meeting in October, public hearing.
Okay.
yeah.
makes sense.
And then, does the public hearing also discuss the elimination, like the last 3 bullets?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so it's comprehensive.
yeah, and we'll fix the bulk table, we'll get rid of those lines and
Can I ask you one question regarding the table for the zoning map code? Do we still have a RGA?
the RGA
It's garden
was
apartments?
appealed, but it's still a zone.
I thought it was eliminated. Is it not?
It was eliminated, but it's still, there are areas in town that are controlled by the RGA zone because they were created under that zone. So the fact that you eliminated it doesn't mean that they don't still have to abide by it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I was confused on why it's still in the regs, but that,
Well,
since it's already.
I am too, because there are a lot of them that, there's the other one, 42B or something, that was also thrown out that's still in there. So I'm sort of trying to get through the zoning regulations to see how we can clean it up and get rid of some of the stuff that's in there that's,
Yeah, because 42B is referenced throughout. Okay. So, Dave will move this.
but you know, I mean,
Go ahead.
when regulations have been changed and zones have been eliminated, it doesn't mean you still have to carry that zone in your regulation, because they're operating under what was in the code at that point when that
Oh,
zone
that's
was
right,
created.
yep.
So I have a file in my office
Yep.
of all the zoning regulations from the last 35 years. In some cases, I have to go back to
That's
a
right.
code from 15 years
What was in
ago
effect then?
to figure out what that subdivision
Yeah,
was created under what code.
yeah,
So it's cleaner if you just get rid of it, because I know what I have to do in order to enforce it.
that's right.
Got that scanned in the computer? The file, you have
The
all
old
that
one?
scanned in the computer?
Can you just search it, it comes up, sure.
Now, they're big file cabinets full of.
Wow.
With original blueprints.
If the grid goes out,
Oh,
we
boy.
can still get work
It's a
done.
lot of tribal knowledge down the drain if something bad.
Mylars.
That's the
Seriously?
first thing I do when I get into a new town, is say, where are the old regulations?
Yeah.
Wow,
And they always say, oh, they're right here.
Yeah.
dust them off.
Right.
Multifamily housing.
Multifamily housing.
I'm ready.
I like to table that one again.
Good.
I still have issues with some of the sizes and units and I want some more, need some more time to
Okay,
digest it.
is there anything else I can do to help you, or?
No, you did everything you needed to do.
Can I ask a question? Will this be included in the October if we can resolve it before then? This could be later, right?
You can do it whenever.
I know, whenever, yeah. I'm just wondering if we all should, to Robert's point, if we should all take homework to make sure we go through it again. That way, next time, we all can present comments if we have comments too.
That'd be great.
That would be fabulous, and maybe we can look towards a November meeting, or,
Yeah, all right.
or you may
Is that all
want.
right? Just giving you homework?
Do it at all, but.
No, that's fine, because my brain
Yeah.
was about to go, oh, we
Yeah,
gotta do
I
this
almost need that
tonight.
kind of like, I have to do it now, for next meeting
And then
kind
on
of
our
thing.
own, yeah.
Yeah,
I like moving to November.
yeah.
I'll take the heat.
The, Dave, anything that you want to bring up on item 7, town planners report? We got a public hearing on the 21st on the character, right, that I do know.
There are a couple of minor subdivisions coming up, there's a couple of little minor developments coming up, but nothing imminent.
Okay. Bill, would you be here on the 21st? I will not.
Yes. My mom's 90th birthday, but I'll be here. Because we're doing something on the weekend, so.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
For the, which meeting?
yeah, the 21st, I should be
21st,
here.
Of September?
Yes, it
Yep.
will not be. Next meeting I will be here.
Okay. And we don't,
Mm.
we'll have the public hearing,
Yep, on the
and we
character.
can talk about the affordable, multifamily housing,
What's the public hearing on?
On the character,
the character
Okay.
changes.
elimination of the word character.
So that's
And
interesting.
we'll have a
about
continuation
our-
of the zone change.
Yeah, Yeah.
continuous
And that'll be
zones.
pretty much it, so we can concentrate on the multifamily housing at that meeting. Right?
Yeah.
And the application 2023-9 is for the 21st as well, correct?
Yes.
Were you able to issue us the cleaned up version of our bylaws?
Oh, I didn't do that.
So relative to that, we have our annual meeting, the first meeting of October. And looking at our bylaws that we approved, last meeting, Chuck has resigned, so now we have an officer's position open. So this meeting was supposed to be to approve a secretary for the duration of his tenure, which is next meeting. Literally, according to the bylaws. And then our annual meeting, October, the first meeting in October, we elect officers again and review the bylaws, make any changes that we want. And so at that time, since we don't have a secretary today, we're supposed to elect one, we could do it next meeting or just table it until the annual meeting and then,
I'd say the annual.
Annual.
okay?
Can I ask you, does anyone else know that they won't be here? On the
No, I
next
should
meeting,
be here.
21st September?
I can be here, for sure. Actually, I looked at all of our meetings, I don't foresee just one, knock on wood, until December done, right?
The reason I'm asking, it's always good for like text amendments and things like that, to have
As many as we can.
as many that participated in your absence. I just want to make sure there's other people.
Right, well, I don't know what happens.
Shouldn't be
Scott-
just
Scott
three of
will
us.
say.
Yeah. Yep, okay.
So with that being said, I wanted to thank Barry for being alternate and congratulate you for being
Yeah.
a new member of the commission, so
Congratulations.
thank you very much.
Yeah, I've learned a lot in those 8 months, so.
No, you're doing great.
Stipend goes up by 10 times.
That's
10 times zero, Barry.
Exactly, so you
Get a
get
big zero.
0.00.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0.00.
We get when we multiply 0 by 1 million.
Right.
10 times zero.
Just one other note, for the commission, Dave sent a letter to the town manager regarding the use of cannabis,
Oh, yes.
I read that.
to see if there was any comment. Basically, the letter reads as such: as you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission in the town adopted, I'm sorry, do I need to add this to the agenda?
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so.
I move to add the town planner's memo to the town council regarding cannabis to the agendas for tonight's meeting under, can we do it under town's planners? Or 7, under 7.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0. So, sorry about that. Letter dated 8/28/23 from Dave Perkins, town planner, to Mike Downs, town manager. Subject cannabis. As you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission of the town adopted a moratorium prohibiting the commission from accepting any application to permit the establishment of any cannabis establishments. The moratorium expires October 21, 23. Chapter 420H of the Connecticut General Statutes authorizes the sale of adult use cannabis. Section 21A-422F authorizes any municipality to regulate the sale of cannabis establishments. Furthermore, subsection B of the statute states, I quote, B, any municipality may, by amendment to such municipality's zoning regulations or by local ordinance, 1, prohibit the establishment of cannabis establishment, 2, establish reasonable restrictions regarding the hours and signage within the limits of such municipality, or 3, establish restrictions on the proximity of cannabis establishments to any of these establishments listed in subdivision 1 of subarticle A of section 30.-46, period. The planning and zoning is looking to the town council for guidance as to how the town wishes to proceed on this issue. The council may by ordinance regulate or ban the sale of adult use cannabis, or it may choose to allow the planning and zoning commission this role. It should be noted that if there is no regulation in effect, cannabis establishments should be zoned as if any other similar use other than cannabis establishment would be zoned, end quotes. If the town chooses to allow the sale of adult use cannabis, it may only, 2, establish reasonable restrictions regarding the hours and signage within the limits of such municipality, or 3, establish restrictions on the proximity of a cannabis establishment to any of the establishments listed in subarticle 1 of subsection A of section 30-46. The Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed regulations of other towns in the state and proposes the attached regulation if the town chooses to permit the sale of use of cannabis. David Perkins. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attachments to the letter to the town manager.
This is what we had asked, yeah. We're just looking for guidance, direction.
Right.
So there was no response from the town council after their meeting
Okay.
on Tuesday. They did not put it on the agenda. I don't know if our liaison wants to.
Yeah, our town council's position is to encourage planning and zoning to extend the moratorium, because I don't think anyone's in it, none of the boards or, yourselves and us are really prepared yet to make a decision, because we're waiting for a lot of information from the state and what the state coming down with, so we want to encourage you to extend the moratorium.
Good. So I think I asked last time, just for clarity, we can just continue.
I was gonna say, is
as long as
there
it's
a-
by the 21st of October, we can just keep doing it. There's no,
We can just keep doing
state
it.
doesn't say, you can only do it 5 times, right? You can just keep doing it, right?
There's no
I think,
limit.
I think you can just keep doing it forever.
That was
Yeah.
my understanding too, Bill.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
But why, just again, looking down the road, are we just kicking the can? Or like, why, if there's an option to, like, why won't we say, yes, ban it, or yes, we'll allow it? Like, yes, there's more time, but we've been doing it a long time. I was just playing devil's advocate, that's all.
In the
I
absence
think
of,
Tommy's saying there's maybe
Yeah,
some more
there's still-
stuff in the state.
still hasn't quite figured out how they want to handle it across the board. And also, everybody in the towns, boards and commissions are working on a lot of things within the town. And really, there's been no time put into this, at least on our end.
Oh, okay. That's
So
fair.
we don't want to, at least from our point of concern, we don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction.
Of course not, yeah.
So.
Okay, I did, yeah, so the state is still working out.
I think the
Everyone's
worst
working
thing
out.
to do would be to allow it, like banning it. Either moratorium is the cleanest.
Yeah, and if somebody comes in and
For now.
starts talking to us and they want to do something,
Right.
we can start talking.
so with that being said, we should move this memorandum in front of us sooner rather than later to get rid of it before October 21st.
So we should put it on public
Yeah.
hearing for that second meeting in October, which is like the 19th, so that's perfect timing.
Oh, a moratorium needs to be a public hearing?
Yeah, because it's a change to the regulation.
October 2nd, you said?
Oh,
Oh, second meeting in October.
Yeah,
Oh, that's getting close. All right. That's the soonest we can do it.
well, we need 30 days to
Yeah.
do all that stuff.
All right.
all right, help me understand though. How's it a change if it's already in place?
Because we're changing the date.
It's-
Oh, we're
Expires.
changing the date of when it's beginning and ending again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm like, why does it need to be a
We let it
public hearing?
lapse, once.
Yeah.
And there was
Okay,
an
I
application
understand
that
now.
never came to fruition, and then we put a moratorium on. So
All
it's
right.
good for us if we're not prepared to make a decision, we gotta make sure we always remember this moratorium date.
Put the brakes on,
So
absolutely.
file this date in your heads.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
Yeah.
what changes there? Oh, it's the change of the date. Okay, I get it now.
So that adds another item to the October 22nd.
No,
public
second.
hearing. October
I think it's the
19th.
19th. I think it's the 19th.
19th,
October
okay,
Yeah.
19th is the
I may
meeting.
be wrong, but
As long as we vote on the 19th, it
19th.
expires the 21st, it doesn't.
We're fine?
we'll have an effective date
extends
of the
it.
21st.
It's October 5th and October 19th.
Okay, 19th, okay.
Good.
October 1st and 3rd, October 19th, yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you for picking that up. I had it on my other agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, this time in the meeting, it usually comes to our illustrious senior member.
Oh,
Item
Say
number
that.
8.
We should just put item 8, Ron.
Ron. Unless absent.
And if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't know.
Then Bill, then someone else.
No, in all honesty, and to be serious for a few minutes, I want to thank everyone on the committee. I mean, you donate your time, you donate your evening, and the discussion that we had tonight, I thought was pretty good. We didn't come to a conclusion, but the discussion was pretty good. That being said, I don't want you to get a, big head over this. I motion we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Second, someone second?
No, motion second.
Second.
Second, done. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
That's
I
fun.
agree, Ron, though, yeah. It's what it's all
pleasant.
about, just we should discuss these and take our time, If we have time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's good to have planning discussions as opposed to zoning discussions.
Good point. Yeah.